welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm a senior partner at Ogilvy Consulting, and at Ogilvy we make brands matters, but we also tackle the toughest business brand and innovation challenges our clients are facing in driving their growth and enabling their digital transformation. So as just mentioned, I'm also the founder of a nonprofit, Live with AI, which has conducted some research on the impact AI has on the society and the human needs amidst the rise of artificial intelligence. To me, AI is everyone's concern, and what could make us fail is the lack of understanding. So I'm super excited to welcome on board and welcome on stage three super panelists we have and experts, because we need the voice from the experts. Ben from Microsoft, Shonali from IDA Technology, and Kutang Meng from AI Singapore. Please welcome on stage the three experts we have for this panel today. Thank you. So AI is, I was telling you that I'm, leading a lot of digital transformation consulting, and AI is in every mouth. It's like there is no 1 hour, no one meeting where finally we are not speaking about AI and how AI is going to disrupt our society, disrupt our business. But I'd like to ask you first. So first, maybe can you just introduce yourself, explain where do you come from and explain your company or entity so that people can understand who is on stage.
So, can everyone hear me? I suppose I don't need a mic. So my name is Seng Meng. I'm from AI Singapore. So AI Singapore is a government AI R&D program office. It's born out of multi-agency efforts to bring Singapore from AI interested to AI ready. So what I do in AI Singapore is to look after alliance and partnership. What I do is to engineer collaborations with entities, with organizations, both inside and outside of Singapore, to complement what we're doing as part of the program office.
Shonali.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shonali. Is that right? Is that okay? Okay, all right, great. I'm Shonali. A bit of background about myself. I used to be an academic, and then I came to Singapore about 7 years ago to work for the Singapore government's R&D agency, where I led the data analytics department for about 5 years. And right now, I'm basically on an entrepreneurial adventure, so to speak. A few of us from the research labs decided to take a leap of faith and start up a machine learning company. So IDA is a machine learning company. We basically focus on machine learning for the financial services sector, but as a capability, in terms of experience, we've looked at machine learning in transport, in healthcare, in mobile technologies, and so on and so forth. So that's my background. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Ben Sadeghi. So I, as well, come from an academic background. Was doing computational physics for several years, worked on a couple NASA projects, and then kind of made the shift to big data and machine learning and all that cool stuff, really. So this is it's been a big transition for me, and this was mainly self-taught, because at the time there were very few resources. Or just a handful of universities globally were offering such education. Now that's changing, and especially with AI Singapore, big shift in how we go about in teaching these new skills that are in very high demand. So I work for Microsoft now. I'm a consultant with customers, going around and basically helping customers go discover new use cases, and ultimately have basically handhold them through the process of taking that use case, getting the right data that's needed, building the framework, and deploying their models. Yeah.
I think it's very good to have two academics on stage today, and I think we need more people like you in this technology and in this business. I remember someone who told me having a PhD in AI is just not enough. You need to be well advanced, and we need more people with a strong background to definitely operate artificial intelligence. So I think the first question is, what is definitely AI? You know, and we hear a lot of science fiction stories and a lot of things online, and I'd like the people here to have a better understanding on what is AI. So can you explain us, Ben, what is AI today, the reality? Yeah.
Sure. Good, excellent question. Thank you for this. Because there is a lot of ambiguity, a lot of hype even around this, and of course, science fiction doesn't help. So within sci-fi, you have these what's commonly referred to as artificial general intelligence agent. So this is something whether it's an android or just a machine you talk to that basically understands everything. And can do everything that a human can, right? Good film that came out not too long ago, Her, if you're familiar. I thought that was quite neat, very sci-fi for today's standards. But talking about what's capable today, it's still machine learning, right? There are some new techniques out, namely deep learning, which have really changed how we go about doing computer vision, speech recognition,
Can you explain maybe in a nutshell what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning?
So machine learning itself, it's been around since the 50s, right? Actually, deep learning, you could argue, to a certain extent, started out back then too. But traditional machine learning takes on a very quite a statistical approach in taking data and with the various algorithms putting together a model that's often interpretable. Right? You can actually take out the weights, or let's say if it's a decision tree, you can actually see how the decision's made and why such a prediction is made. Right? Deep learning is now it's been around for a while, but hadn't been popular before, mainly because of the computational need that it needed, that actually required to run these models, to build these models. Excuse me. So here we're talking about it's really a collection of neurons, I put quote unquote, which actually take a few inputs and ultimately have one output. And you put collections of these together, layer them. You have these deep, hence the deep, because you have these multi-layered architectures where inputs from the previous neurons are passed on to the following ones, right? So in this process, you actually you wind up getting a black box, because the original data that's fed into it is sort of obscured, and it, along the process, goes ahead and builds its own derivative data. So, and it's this derivative data that ultimately becomes more powerful than the original. But the trouble with this derivative data is that it's, to us, to humans, it's actually quite nonsensical. You can't really interpret it anymore.
So I think what is important to understand is definitely what are the real application and use case, and how finally today AI can solve any specific business problem. Can you just explain us a bit more about that?
Sure, that's
and
what
give
I
us
do for
example.
a living, right? So I should be able to explain that. If I can't explain it, I don't have a salary next month. Welcome to the world of AI startups.
So you will potentially have more clients, which is good as well.
Okay, so there are many use cases. There are many, but I'll start with a fun one, something which I did long ago, because I was told that this is an entertainment conference. The first time I've come to something like this. I don't go to entertaining conferences, I just go to academic ones. So I was told I must come on stage and entertain you guys. So here, many years ago, there was this competition where Nokia, at that time they were still a big thing, they released some data of people using mobile devices. This was about 6-7 years ago, smartphones had come, but they were not that smart. And they collected some data of some 100 people, they tracked them for a few months, and they put this data out, completely anonymized as a competition. and they said, what can you do with this data, you know? And it was really a very creative exercise, and there were all sorts of interesting questions. So can we look at this data and figure out whether the people in this exercise, just by looking at their mobile phones, can we say, you know, they're in a relationship or not? Can we say whether they are married or not? What kind of work do they do? Can we say whether they are a man or a woman, and so on? So this is my favorite question, right? So this is machine learning made very simple, given some information about how people use their phones. We were able to do all of these things also. So the question is, what do you think makes something in your phone tells us whether the person who's using it is a man or a woman, right? So what do you think it could be? I mean, we get everything. Let's say we don't know the name of the person, but we know the duration of the calls. We know all sorts of things, right? So whenever I ask this question, people give me all sorts of answers. They tell me that if there are women, they speak for longer on the phone. If there are men, they have more apps which play games on the phone and all this. All of these are true. They can all help to distinguish. But actually, I don't need any of that. I didn't know this before I did the study. There is one little sensor on this device. It's called the accelerometer. It just measures how the phone is moving. So if you look at the data, it's just a movement pattern. And it's like a signal, it's a wave, right? It's a sensor, it's a wave. When I look at this data, we can say whether the user is a man or a woman with about 90+% confidence, you know. And it very simply comes down to this. Where was your phone when you came here?
My back pocket.
Your back pocket. And where was your phone when you came here?
In my bag.
Exactly, that's the difference. The way the phone moves when it's in the pocket versus it's inside a handbag, that pattern is enough to say it's a man or a woman. Anyway, this is not a very useful business case. We use, you asked me for useful applications,
But
I've done the
it raises so first ethical things, you know, and there is a lot about, you know, the ethics of AI. So we can definitely understand, you know, the potential issue behind any AI application.
Sure. I mean, but this is really what machine learning is all about. It takes data, what human beings cannot see. It helps to classify, to recognize patterns, and so on. In terms of business use cases, look, there are just hundreds. Uber or Grab nowadays, and there's no Uber in Singapore, sorry. When you call, they use machine learning. They know where you're going to go. Your bank, which sends you offers, which says things like, you know, oh, if you go to Starbucks and use my card, I'll give you a 10% discount. Believe me, we built some such models for one of the large banks in Singapore, right? So it actually says what is the right offer to make to somebody. We're doing work with insurance. This is to help people who are, I don't know, normally a few months ago I went to hospital, I had a diarrhea of some sort, and then you know, it took about 7 days to get the insurance claim back. But the company for which we are building solutions, you know, they can turn around health claims in the matter of seconds, right? So it's real-time claims assessment. The machine, for most claims, you know, simple things like standard illnesses, standard practices, you can turn these things really, really fast. These are all examples of things that, you know, machine learning can do in terms of applications.
And I think this one is a very good one. So to me, there are a lot of applied case studies in the healthcare domain, and certainly the most important one that I can see. Or I'd like to, can you tell us more about AI Singapore first, and especially this healthcare grand challenge that is like so well, you know, announced and important to Singapore. So I think it's a good transition to continue to speak a bit about like AI and healthcare.
So Shonali explained that there is quite a fair bit of applied use when it comes to using advanced technique like deep learning or other forms of machine learning to solve problems. So while AI Singapore was set up to do one of our 3 missions, one of it was then to help Singapore government to design long-term national research goals that spans 5 to 10 years. Basically, the government is giving us money and tell us to design what we term as grand challenges. So there were 3 domains that were given to us as part of our mission. One is in finance, the other one is in urban solutions or smart cities, and then the last but not least is in healthcare. So healthcare is a very important topic. Singapore is positioned as an aging population. By 2020, 1 in 4 person will be over the age of 65 years old. One of the main burden of society is, one of the main burden of government is the health costs of their citizens. So what we want to do as part of the grand challenge is to be able to build prediction models to help in terms of, let me just close this off.
Be careful with your accelerator.
So one of the things we want to do is to use AI tools to build prediction models to help the healthcare professionals in terms of analyzing data across the whole continuum of care to provide clues in terms of chronic disease and healthcare management. And for the grand challenge that is announced is on the domain of what we call as 3H, high blood pressure, diabetes, and hypertension. So what we want to do basically, as what Ben said earlier, the whole idea is when you use data, when you ingest data into machine learning models, and when you ingest data across different sources, even medical receipts could go inside. You could build prediction model that could predict to a high degree of accuracy how certain diseases can progress. And that serves as a useful tool for healthcare professionals when it comes to management. Now, make no mistake, AI is not going to solve your diabetes problem if you have diabetes. Eating drugs will help you to solve it. But the AI code is to help the healthcare professionals to help you to manage that as early as possible. So that's in essence what we're trying to do for this national research goal or grand challenge.
So we have seen over the last 12 months a lot of initiative, of course, pushed by the government. When we prepared this call together, I was very, very excited with one thing that you raised. You said to me that we potentially are going to enter in the winter of AI. So why? After so much excitement, so you know, and everyone just speaking about AI, you have conference everywhere in Singapore and in Asia about like what's going on, what's next on AI.
Yes. So this AI winter and AI springs are nothing new. They've been around. We've gone through several phases of them since the 50s. So initially you had by going back 50s, 60s, new algorithms were invented, and that created a lot of excitement, raised a lot of funding, and yeah, that sort of that was a spring then. And then came the 70s and 80s, where people realized that actually the computational power needed for a lot of these works, these model buildings aren't there, right? New algorithms were developed. In the 90s, again, we hit a computation and also a limit to amount of data that was available. That was another, basically another obstacle that created an AI winter within the 90s. Then in the 2000s, you had, that was really, or past 10 years, I should say. It's been the age of big data, new technology, and cloud computing. So now data is readily available for the most part. Computational needs are met with cloud computing and new chipsets, particularly we're talking about GPUs. So there is currently we're in the middle of a spring. Yeah, there's a lot of activity, a lot of universities, a lot of education, a lot of funding being put into AI initiatives. But some have argued that the current methods are still lacking, that we're basically going to plateau in terms of the real intelligent agents that are ultimately needed to go take the next level. So one problem is again, back to the data and computational needs. So some have argued that if you want to take the next level using the current methods, you need a 10x, 100x of the amount of data and computational power that's currently used. Others argue, there's of course several schools of thought around this, but there will be a little trough of disappointment, what would they call it?
So yes,
yeah.
and so we need a bit more time. On the other side, Shonali, can you explain us a bit more? What do we miss? What do the client miss to finally do a bit more and finally foster, and help to get, more AI in their business, to try to finally leverage AI as a business driver? You daily work with these clients. What do you think they miss? Where do you think they fail?
Two things here, right? One is the very interesting topic of, these intelligent agents, right? I mean, the AI that we have today is not the AI that we all dream of in science and see in movies and read in books and science fiction, right? So that AI is what I would really like to have. So something when I get up in the morning, something which tells me that today I have to do this, I don't have to even look at my calendar. It speaks to me. It not only speaks to me, organizes my life. That would be real AI. We don't have that. I still have to look at my calendar. I have to sort of figure out that I forgot something for my son's school. All these things we still have to do all of it. So I think that's very, really further out and requires a significant amount of research. Today, what we have done and we continue to do very well is one little part of AI, which is known as machine learning. Machine learning is one kind of AI. Machine learning is an AI where the machine learns from data. So it's actually learning from examples. What is data? It's examples. How did this machine figure out that, people with this kind of pattern are women? Is because it saw that pattern and it saw that the person was a woman. You give it enough examples, then it knows that, okay, this is a woman, this is a man. This is just one kind of learning. What we really need is to take it to another level if we want to realize a more intelligent form of AI, where you want AI to learn from examples, but like human beings, also learn from feedback, learn from mistakes, have this sort of lifelong continuous learning paradigm. So I think this is quite a bit away. It's not there. In terms of adoption in today's businesses, though, I mean, I don't think the bank is looking for this real general AI or insurance companies. There is enough low-hanging fruit in healthcare, in transportation, in financial services, in whatever field we look at, where there is significant amounts of data. We can do things a little better than we could not have done without data and machine learning. So I think that low-hanging fruit in itself can give tremendous returns on investment. I think the next few years we are just going to see how to take this first step of getting that low-hanging fruit happening so that, those things become business as usual activities, right? I think we're still at the beginning of that.
Thank you. To me, AI is everyone's concern. It's important to educate any of us about what's going on. And it looks like AI Singapore definitely wants as well to empower people and help them in this understanding. So you just released 2 new initiatives, so AI for industry and AI for everyone. Can you explain us a bit more about these 2 new initiatives from AI Singapore?
Sure. As what Pierre said, AI is moving into the mainstream of what we do as individuals, as businesses. So it is important for us as individuals, as company stewards, as organization, to understand what does it bring when it comes to what kind of value can AI bring into your personal life, into your businesses as well. So when AI Singapore was started, we were trying to help companies to grab that low-hanging fruit. So it's one of the industry programs called 100 Experiment. So the whole premise is then to work with companies. Companies bring their problem statements, and then we bring the researchers to work on the problem statements. Along the way, we realized that companies need to be more aware of what it means to bring their problem statement to us, because they weren't able to properly define. They thought that AI is a magic bullet, like what Ben said earlier, artificial general intelligence. So AI for E, AI for everyone, is basically a way for us to try to level up the understanding, basic understanding of AI to the whole Singapore ecosystem. Now, not everybody eventually wants to do coding, want to do Python or R, or want to do neural net simulation. But even as sales professional, business professional, even the customer service people, by understanding AI as a tool, as a utility, what does it mean? This is one of the premises why we started AI for E. If you look at it simply, there's a lot of free materials that is already available out there, Coursera courses, Udacity. But in Singapore, AI for E is generally, people still value the FaceTime, the face-to-face teaching. So AI for E is basically that one avenue for you to learn AI. So we actually offer regular courses for free. We open up to the public, right? So that's AI for everyone. You could think of it like AI 101. Now, AI for industry, AI for I, is one step above this introductory course. So AI for I is targeted not for the general public, for people who are sort of already dealing with data analytics, people who uses Tableau, people who uses data analytics tools. So it's a step up where we work with content partners like Microsoft, Intel AI Academy, DataCamp, all that, to offer more structured courses. And at the end of AI for I, actually, you do get some form of certification. So AI for I would be more like on-job training. While we coach you on some of the fundamentals, we actually try to squeeze in mini projects for you to do during the delivery of the courses so that you walk away with some understanding on how to practically apply some of the AI tools. And what I'm trying to reinforce here is think of AI as a tool. And as a tool, whether you want to know it because it benefits part of what you do, but you need not necessarily use the tool, that's AI for E. If you want to use it as a tool itself, then you go AI for I.
Excellent. I'd like to use your time here on stage to give us a bit more ideas about what's next. What could we see in AI over 20 years? So for example, myself, I'm super excited about the connection with the brain and how we will be able to translate chemical signal, you know, to a machine and potentially get access to the brain, which definitely raises a lot more ethical issues like the one you just raised before. From your point of view, what are the key things that you think, you believe, you would love to see 20 years ahead? You first.
20 years from now?
Yeah, let's try to say 20 years. You know, be realistic as well. I don't want to fall in this science fiction trap again.
Definitely, I think a bit more progress on the general AI. You know, I don't know if we'll get there, but you know, we all have these Google Minis and all. They are the very, very preliminary versions of something that can, you know, answer something for you. You can say, find me a song, it finds it. Tell me the weather, it does it. But really, a lot more advanced than that. I think 20 years from now, that would be nice to have. I think that would really change everybody's life, you know. I feel like mobile devices in some ways have, right? I'm old enough to remember going on a holiday where there was no Google Maps. You couldn't call a taxi if you were lost. You actually had to use a map and ask people on the street to get back to your hotel, right? In my lifetime, that wasn't too long ago, in the last 10 years, I've seen this change the way we do things. So I think, you know, that would be nice.
Ben, you just mentioned also potentially how independent object and tool, you know, could run an AI without a connection with the tool. We discussed that together, the edge AI.
Yes.
Do you think it could change a bit, you know, the ecosystem? Could you potentially explain us?
Yes. So we're talking about intelligent edge, really.
Yeah.
So you have all these devices that are part of the IoT ecosystems, which currently just really gather data, right? And if there is some sort of prediction needs to be made, it's typically it's typically made within some other system, typically a cloud environment, and that's it. So and the predictions pass back down to the IoT device. What we're seeing next is allowing these models that are built anywhere be deployed on these lightweight edge devices themselves. So now you can actually just build your model, deploy the model on some little micro server, and that's it. No more connectivity needed to any other infrastructure. And this guy is automatically doing the scoring and making the predictions. And next step would even be these IoT devices, intelligent ones, that do the learning themselves too. So again, if we it's a combination of efficient algorithms and potentially a little beefier chipsets, which would allow these individual IoT devices to build their own models and do their own scoring.
What is the voice of AI Singapore?
Well, AI Singapore does just support what the researchers want to do. But talking to so many researchers and having researchers come back to us with many ideas is, when you look at AI, I agree with the speaker saying that there's a general progression towards AGI. So AGI, artificial general intelligence, as opposed to ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. So if you look at it, probably 20 years, 5 years, 20 years down the road, Google Duplex will become something of a true personal AI. So you probably will be looking at some form of AGI on 3 levels. The first level will be personal AI, your personal Jarvis. Everybody wants a Jarvis. Every researchers keep talking about Jarvis in their research proposal, that it has actually become a verb. So the second thing is, company then would want to look at team AI, basically an AI, AI that could help in terms of the business unit do something better, take out all the routine tasks and just throw it to the team AI to crunch report, sales report, etc. Take out all the mundane tasks and let the team does more productivity, gaining work, more creative thinking. And as for the government, I can't say for the government of Singapore, but I'm sure every government wants to be able to govern better, wants to be able to make fact-based decisions. So therefore, city-size AI would be something that would be very useful. And already we are seeing that in China, Alibaba has a city brain that helps the city of Hangzhou by correlating all the traffic cameras and all the public surveillance camera, weave it into a cohesive whole, so that the city of Hangzhou, they can detect lost people within minutes. They can do re-identification, all that. So if you look at it, 3 different classes of personal AI assistant to help you. Personal, companies, government level, that's how I would see as a natural, beneficial use of AI moving forward.
So as a last question, because I know we are in an entertainment event, in a few days we have the Formula One here in Singapore, and I have an open question to the 3 of you. Do you think it might be possible in 2019 to get an autonomous vehicle, potentially competing with human here in Singapore? And if yes, what might be the toughest problem to solve in the next 12 months to get to that point?
Okay, so autonomous vehicles, as you know, basically every major car manufacturer is on this. You have software companies like Google is in this game as well. So there is considerable investment in here. Going back to the AI winter, some have argued that it's actually a long way ahead to actually have a fully autonomous car. So I believe it was a Ford or a Volvo that actually put in writing boldly that we're going to have a car out in 2019 that won't even have a steering wheel. And from what I've gathered so far, they're not going to hit that target. So
any autonomous car competing with human on F1 next year in Singapore?
Unlikely. I think, it's interesting because that car would have no fear, right? For however fearless the Formula One drivers are, they're still human beings, and I'm sure there's a tiny iota of fear that holds them back at some level, right? An autonomous vehicle would have no such fear. And so I don't know what it would do. But anyway, on the racing track. But I agree with you. I think autonomous, fully autonomous. I think semi-autonomous, assisted driving is definitely going to happen very soon. But I think fully autonomous on urban roads seems like a far away thing yet.
So let's close the session with AI Singapore words. Maybe AI for Formula One next
I'll
year?
speak as an individual. But I have a contrarian view on autonomous F1 because it is a fixed route, because it's fixed mode and it's not mixed mode traffic. Actually, a fully autonomous F1 could be possible. In fact, the reverse is true. Basically, as what Shonali said, the problem will be AI has no fear, or rather, AI doesn't have the concept of fear. The speed limit will be breached. Possibly, the car manufacturers might be very interested to see how fast the machine can go without the risk of human lives. Okay, so it is more of, can we have a fully autonomous F1 race next year, as opposed to, do we have human racers racing together with the autonomous vehicle itself? So more likely is we will have still our traditional F1, then we will have one that is more autonomous one. In fact, I think this weekend there is an autonomous RC car coming, right?
Yes, and there is also, this drone race with human competing with the machine, I think, happening in the next few days. So I'm sure that we will learn a lot and might be super excited. Thank you to all of you. I was very, very happy to get you on stage. I invite you to all stay here because I know that the next panel would be absolutely fantastic, and they are looking certainly to offer you a gift present at the end. So please stay here in the room. I'm sure. And the gift, I saw the gift. We saw the gift. The gift is really nice.
Our gifts are good. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please thank the panel, Pierre, Ben, Shonali, and Seng. Men, thank you very much. Fascinating stuff.